Hello and welcome to this edition of Trojan Talk. I'm Neela Cole, and joining with me here today is Luke Jones, who is the chair of the John Robert Lewis Leadership Conference this week. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me. How are you today?
I'm doing very well. How about you yourself?
I'm doing well.
That's really good. So speaking of doing well, let's go ahead and jump into the conference that's happening this weekend. Tell me a little bit about that.
So this weekend, the conference will be held January the 31st, starting this Friday evening at 6 o'clock in the Trojan Center Theater, where we will have our keynote speaker, Dr. Keith Elder, who is from Troy, Alabama, but he is actually serving as the 22nd president of St. Xavier University. So that would be our Friday night. And then on our Saturday morning, on the 1st, starting bright and early at 8 o'clock in the morning, we will have our student sessions, we will have our adult sessions, and one session that we're really particular and excited about this year is we're going to have a round table talk with the Lewis family. Two of John Robert Lewis's brothers will give an account of how their experience during the civil rights movement, how it affected them as a family, and there will also be two of his nephews that will also be at that round table talk. So we're looking forward to it.
So what do you hope students to gain or understand from this conference?
We're hoping for students to gain knowledge, leadership skills, not just leadership, but also servant leaderships. But because, you know, in order to be a leader, you have to be willing to serve first. So we want them to learn that servant leadership, and we also want them to be able to go back and employ those skills and those techniques they've learned this weekend into the classroom, into the workforce, into their everyday lives.
And with that being said, obviously this whole conference is wrapped around John Lewis. Can you further talk about the significance that he had not only on the university but to the world in general, and why it's important that Troy University is honoring that?
Absolutely. The boy from Troy played a significant role in the civil rights movement. If it was not for him and a lot of the foot soldiers and the freedom riders, a lot of the privileges and a lot of the freedoms that we have today, we would not have those if him and others like him didn't have that servant leadership to go out and fight for those injustices and inequalities.
So, and with all that said, why would you say is the importance for students to know that story specifically?
As when they go out into the world, they're going to be in positions where they're going to be in leadership. And so here is at Troy University is the best place in the world to learn how to be a leader. So while they're here at this conference, they can take those skills, as I mentioned, into their workforce, into their marriages, into their parenthood, into their adulthood lives.
Exactly, because leadership will continue in our lives, whether, like you mentioned, in the workforce or within their personal life. It is a huge aspect in this community. So what do you look forward whenever you guys host this leadership conference? Are you looking forward to the participation, to the speaker stories? What?
I'm looking forward for it all. And I'm looking forward for the participants to come. Nothing excites me more than to see the youth and the students that come and participate, because I know that somewhere in that youth crowd there is the next leader, there is the next John Lewis, there is the next Chancellor Hawkins, there is that next leader who is coming to Troy to, as I mentioned, to get those skills.
Exactly. And so in order for students to come to this event, in order to get those skills, how can they register again for this event?
We will be accepting registration all the way up until the day of the event. You can just walk up and you can register for the event. Registration fee for students is $15. Registration fee for adults is $30. You can either contact me, myself, at lwjones@troy.edu, or you can go to our website at troy.edu/leadership.
And what are we thinking about with the attire?
The attire is professional attire, business attire, because again, we're looking at leaders. We're in those leadership roles, so that's how we are going to be dressed as leaders.
Well, exactly. Well, I'm really looking forward to the event, and I thank you so much for joining with me tonight.
Thank you for having me. Hope to see you this weekend.
Yes, sir. And thank you guys for joining this edition of Trojan Talk.